Welcome back, my friends, to Fair Fight Wrestling Podcast. This is the first pay-per-view predictions episode for Fair Fight Wrestling Podcast, and we're going to be focusing on Payback coming up this Sunday. So the way that I like doing my predictions is kind of sectioning them off into categories. Number one, what is the order of the matches that we're going to see? What is the time duration that each match is going to be allotted? Who's coming out on top? And then kind of those details of the decision in terms of how they're going to be. Is it a pinfall? Is it submission? Is someone going to get involved? Are we going to see something really out of left field? So this is kind of my formula of doing my predictions, and I'm excited to jump into Payback. All right, at the time that I am recording this, there's been no pre-show match announced as of yet. So I'm going to forego the idea of just trying to predict a pre-match, and we're going to go right into what I think is going to be the first match on the actual card, which is going to be the Hardys versus Cesaro and Sheamus. I think you're probably going to end up starting the show off with the Hardys music, get the crowd really hot right away. I don't think this is going to be a long match. Here's why. I think that you're going to find that because of the pace that Jeff Hardy and Cesaro were able to accomplish last week on Raw, I think it's going to be a short match, about 9 minutes total. But in the end, it would be really hard to fathom taking the championship off of the Hardys at this point. I don't think we've reached the point where those two need to split up just yet, especially since we're still feeling out that broken character in that lawsuit and seeing what we can get away with. So in terms of a decision, I think it's going to be a straight up pinfall. You got two faces going at each other. There's probably going to be a handshake at the end, just like we saw a week ago on Raw. But I think it's going to be a really good showing. It's going to be a great curtain jerker for the pay-per-view, but I think Hardys are coming out on top. All right, moving on. The second card of the match I predict is going to be Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe. We'll give them a little bit more time, about 13 minutes, and that could be a little more than probably what's going to happen. Just depends on how Seth's knee is feeling, but I'll give him a 13-minute slot for now. I think this is going to be brutal. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff on the outside. Again, mostly just catering towards Seth's knee. If it's still, if he's still kind of shaky with that, this is a grudge match. And so I think you're going to find a lot of leniency in terms of count out and in terms of what could be considered a disqualification. In the end, though, if this is their blow-off match, which it might not be, I don't think that necessarily this rivalry has to be over, because technically it was supposed to be all the way back at Fastlane. So this may not be the blow-off. But I still think storyline-wise, it makes sense for Samoa Joe to go out on top here. Here's why. Samoa Joe, I don't know if he's undefeated or not, but I mean, he had... Boy, I'd have to think about it. I have to actually go back. I don't know if there's been any weird things where he got counted out or DQ'd, but in the end, though, he hasn't lost a whole lot, and I don't think they're going to slow that down too much here. I think Samoa Joe's going to go out on top. I think it's going to be a submission right in the middle of the ring, either that or if you want to help out Seth a little bit, make him pass out. Not necessarily to the extent that Austin did with Brett with the blood and everything like that, but if you just do that pass out, Seth didn't give up. It helps with his credibility a little bit, but I would be really hard pressed to see Samoa Joe lose to Seth Rollins clean in the ring. So that's where I'm saying with this match. Moving on to the women's division at number 3, Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. It's going to be short and sweet. I don't think these guys are going to do any kind of extra long extended match. Keep it around 8 minutes tops. I think Bayley's coming out on top here. I don't think it's necessary for Alexa Bliss to take that belt from her yet. You've got that kind of character who, I'm not going to say she transcends heel or face, but I do think that she is the Kevin Owens equivalent in terms of face versus heel. She's a heel in kayfabe world, but she is respected and cheered by the fans in the same sense that Kevin Owens does. So it'd be a great story to watch her chase that title. And it does wonders for Bayley, to where she didn't just lose it, her first title defense after WrestleMania. So I do think that it's good for Bayley to keep that championship. I think there could be a little bit of controversy with somebody interfering, maybe Sasha, because, none of the other women are doing anything at this pay-per-view, but I do think it's going to be a pinfall in the middle of the ring. All right, going on to the blow-off match of Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens. I think they're going to give him some time, maybe 15 minutes tops. But listen, this pay-per-view Payback predictions episode, at this point, it's kind of a joke because, listen, Kevin Owens is going to win. Chris Jericho is going on to tour with Fozzy for a while, deservingly so. Hey, we've had him for far longer than we ever thought we would because of him extending his contract, understandably so. But listen, Kevin Owens is going on top. He's going to keep that championship. Here's where I think a little fine detail. I think Jericho's going out on a stretcher. Rather than him just eat a pin or tap out in the middle of the ring, you got to get him off TV for a reason for a while. And so I think putting him on a stretcher, taking him out in an ambulance makes a little bit more sense as to why all of a sudden, to the non-smart marks out there, why we don't see him for a while. So, but I think you're going to find a lot of people, and especially my fellow podcasters out there, are going to say that this match was better than the WrestleMania match. But we're going to find out. All right. Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. Roman and Strowman. 20 minutes. I'll give him 20 minutes. Not the longest match that I have slotted for the evening. And it took me a really long time to decide who's going out on top. And I just, rather than me fantasy book, I have to go with predictions in terms of what is going to happen. And I think Roman Reigns is going to win. I don't want him to win. I want Braun to win, but it's not going to happen. Here's why. They've done an excellent job of making Braun look like $1 million heel on Raw. And we all think it's to push him to the top and get him up against Brock Lesnar and put that championship on him. And just knowing how Vince works, I think all we've been seeing for the past couple weeks is $1 million mountain for Roman Reigns to climb and conquer. It's unfortunate, but I think that's what's going to happen. Here's my fine details. I think you're going to see the finish be at least 5 Superman punches. And I think that's just going to be a little, hey, thanks, Braun, for taking the pin. We'll try to make you look as good as possible. And we'll try to make Roman Reigns give as much effort as he could. I think you're going to see 5 Superman punches to finally knock down the Giant. Roman wins, the crowd riots like it was ECW, and we move on to Roman Reigns taking back control of his yard. And I bet you also $1 million he walks into Payback without a scratch on him. So it's unfortunate, but it's a prediction. All right, number 6, Austin Aries versus Neville. You might ask, why so late in the card? Well, I think it might be just a thank you to them for taking the pre-show match spot at WrestleMania. It's also one of those type of matches that makes sense right before the main event. I think we're going to see a quick match, like a 12-minute match, but a really good quality match. And here's where I think Austin Aries is going to get that championship finally. Neville has had a tremendous run with that title and with his character. But I think it's time for Austin to take back control and start throwing some heels at him. And I think it's going to be clean pin in the middle of the ring. And I think you're probably also going to hear a lot of people, maybe with Seth or Samoa Joe as the exception, that this is going to steal the show. And I hope it does. All right, main event time. I don't even know why I'm talking about this because it's so ridiculous. How I can predict what the heck this House of Horrors match is when I don't even think they know still to this time is absolutely amazing to me. But regardless, 2 things I think is going to happen. Number 1, I think it's going to be long, and I think it's going to be too long. That's why I'm going to give it 25 minutes. Not because I think it deserves it or needs it, but because I think that's what they're going to give it. Orton's going to win. If he doesn't win, I will be so shocked and so amazed and flabbergasted positively, but it's not going to happen. This is the most useless blow-off match that is unnecessary, should have ended at WrestleMania. We don't know what this is going to be. We don't even know if this is going to be the final deletion equivalent or if it's going to be in the ring, if it's just going to be a hardcore match, if it's going to look kind of like a cage match in the Asylum like Jericho and Ambrose did. Nobody knows. If they turn on that projector again, you're going to get more boos than Roman Reigns, I'm afraid. But here's where I think it's going to happen. Here's where I'm going to throw in a prediction. Orton's going to win. And I think we're going to see Sister Abigail. I think we're going to have a physical person be Sister Abigail. I have no idea who. There's a lot of speculation out there who it could be, but I think this is the time to give Bray a Sister Abigail because Braun's in his own little world. There's really no connection between Bray and him anymore now that Bray's on Raw. Luke and Eric Rowan are on Smackdown. Bray is all by himself, and he doesn't do well without a posse. You're going to see a physical Sister Abigail show up at this match. I don't know who, but I think we're finally going to get that character. So, all right. Let me know what you think is going to happen at Payback. Throw some comments down. Hit some likes for me. I sincerely appreciate it. Don't forget that here at Fair Fight Wrestling Podcast, we throw all of our Patreon money into a deserving and reputable charity. Right now, it's going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital at stjude.org. Absolutely 0% goes to us. We just encourage you to throw it back into the community if you would be so kind. And thank you guys so much for joining us. We are here at YouTube, and we are on Twitter and Facebook at Fair Fight Audio, and we will see you soon. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you at Payback.